And welcome inside the Backstage Pass. It is show number 2 of the day. Of course, we got 2 more coming up tomorrow as our good friend Jesse G is going to stop by. And also JD Shelburne, the Kentucky man himself, is going to come across here on the Backstage Pass presented by Bangtail Whiskey, MitchMacs.com, and our friends at Hank Jr. Productions. Our thanks to Cassandra Clack for coming on. Fantastic musician out of Vancouver, Canada. Go ahead and check out Airplane Champagne, her latest single out there. And of course, my next guest, he's a sports fan himself too, so he knows about countdown to kickoff when it comes to high school football. You can hear Vital Pirate Football on CajunCountryRadio.com coming up this fall with our good friend Robbie Land, yours truly, and our good friend Kevin Percato. Pleased to welcome back to the program. His album's doing well out there, Southern Man. Just put it out April of this year, and man, it's got some good stuff on there if you guys haven't heard it. Tommy Townsend of the broadcast. Tommy, what's up, man?
Oh, just hanging out. What are you doing?
Oh, just football talk now. So it's getting close. It's getting close.
Love it. Yeah.
It's going to be fun out here calling some high school games. And, we'll still do college and then pro and stuff like that. But it's all about the kids. That's what it's about. So yeah. I'm getting ready for another. I signed up for another 10-game home and away games coming up this fall with high school. Texas football, man, ain't nothing like it. You know what I mean? It really ain't.
Oh, that's the big thing, isn't it? You dang right. Yeah.
I'm sure it is in Nashville too for some select high schools too, but it's Texas, man, they'll eat that up, chew that up, and spit it out, no doubt about it. Hey, speaking of having fun with the album, give us an update. I know we got to talk a little bit in Nashville at the big CRS at the Omni Hotel. Tell me a little bit about Southern Man. Give me some highlights. Tell me what's been going on since we last spoke.
Yeah, that man, I guess when we last spoke at CRS, this is before the album come out, but man, it's doing really well. We've got thousands and thousands of streams, and so the CD is released on. You can get the physical CD for those of you that listen to CDs still on Amazon. And then Black Friday we'll be coming out with vinyl on Record Store Day. So that's going to be we're going to kind of treat that as another release. So looking forward to that. And we've been doing some shows. Did the country music cruise. Done some things here and there. We just last Friday played City Winery in Nashville, and then we were up in New York with XM Radio, and we did the morning show on Newsmax channel.
Okay, yeah,
yeah. So that turned out good and had a lot of views and had a lot of great response from that. So yeah.
How good it felt, I know for a lot of artists now with things I still use that word loosely, getting back to normal. How good it felt to be back on stage?
Oh, it has been great. I missed that. We did just a few things here and there last year, and then of course 2020. I think we did 3 shows at the very beginning of the year and didn't do nothing the rest of the year. So, but yeah, it's felt good to get back out on the road. We'll be getting back out more this fall. So just go to TommyTownsendMusic.com and the band's in town or whatever, and keep up with us where we're going to be.
You guys had a great selection of songs. I mean, I broke that thing down like I said, a fine-tooth comb when it came to Southern Man. Y'all had the Waylon Jennings intro, that live version there, and of course right into Southern Man featuring him, and of course a Good Love Died Tonight. All these great songs that you guys put out, and that's what era you grew up in. So when you guys went in the studio to record this one, I mean, number one, it had to be fun. Number two, it's what you grew up on. And I think still my favorite one today had to be Stompin Ground. That's a great song.
Yeah. We went in the studio back, as Jerry Bridges said, I was just a pup, still had and started recording that. And Waylon and Jerry, man, they're so great. And, let me try my own things at an early age. And I always said I started at the top and probably worked my way down. But yeah, that was so much fun, and being able to talk about this album again in interviews. One thing you'll talk about, it kind of sparks a memory from something else, and so it's just been so fun to go back and revisit this thing, and I'm glad that record found a home, the BFD Audium Nashville, and it's doing really well. I'm just very, very pleased with it, and I didn't write any of the songs on it because that project was started. I think I probably told you earlier that the project was actually started when I was a teenager. And then Waylon and Jerry took me in the studio over 10-year period of time up to like 1997, 98, and recorded stuff on me. So that the album is in a 10-year period of time. And then I went back in later on and re-sang the stuff, but it's mostly the original way it was done, just enhanced with with all the digital stuff.
Mm-hmm. All the special effects and stuff like that. Tell me about. I'm gonna dive into that one specifically. Stompin Ground, just a fun song to have a good time with too on that album. Again, Southern Man from Tommy Townsend. Tell me about how Stompin Ground came about.
Stompin Ground, all these songs Waylon had put back, in his catalog or vault or whatever from time to time. And I remember Jerry Bridges brought me Stompin Ground. I remember listening to it in his living room there in Franklin, and just thinking what a great song that one is. It's kind of greasy, it's kind of Fred Knobloch wrote that song. And the funny thing is I never played the song live until last Friday night at City Winery.
Okay.
Right. And it was very fun.
That's so. And I bet it had a crowd having a good time, no doubt too. And that City Winery, a lot of fun too, right?
Yeah. It was, and a few of the songs on the record I've never played live. So but we went in and rehearsed them that day or the night before, and it came off like we've played them for years.
Mm-hmm. That's no doubt. Hey, y'all had a good time back in 2018 when I first got to learn about you and kind of sign up with everything and just put all the great music on the air. The Turn Back the Clock album. Tell me a little bit about that and what some of the best the memories. Of course, the song Drinking was a lot of fun. I enjoyed Sundown too, which was on my playlist too at the same time. So I've been listening to you for now 4 or 5 years now, ever since that thing came out. A lot of fun to make and a lot of cool songs for people to choose from, right?
Yeah, the Turn Back the Clock album was released in 2018. Shooter Jennings produced that. So kept all this in the family. So,
you have. Yeah.
We toured with Shooter for 4 or 5 years with Waylon Outlaws, the Waylon band, and we would open the shows for Shooter, and we'd be his band. So I got to be the front man for the Waylon band part of it, and then I got to be the side man, which I really like playing guitar and singing harmony for Shooter. And that project started in about 2016, and we recorded it out in Hollywood with Shooter's band that he has now. That's great. And Drinking was a Holly Williams song, which was Hank Williams Jr.'s daughter. And a friend of mine turned me onto that song. And Sundown was a song I remember hearing as a little bitty kid and just loving that song when I got into music. And I always wanted a chance to record it. And finally, when I was in the studio out there, I was telling Shooter about it. He goes, "Let's do it." So, it turned out.
It did. Y'all had that's actually one of my favorite albums. Y'all even had one called I think it led off the album Renegade Picker. Was that one on there too?
Yeah, that was one on there too. That's old Steve Young song. Yeah.
I love that one too. That set the tone for it real well too. And then there I believe was it one called make sure I'm getting it right, Belle of the Ball?
Belle of the Ball, yeah. That was a song that actually Buddy Jennings produced on me. That they were doing some kind of documentary on Waylon, and Buddy had wanted me to sing Belle of the Ball as the credits rolled. Yeah. And I just went in the studio and just did an acoustic version of that. And so the documentary never got released. But anyway, I was while we were out on the road with Shooter, I played him that in the hotel room one night, and he's like, "Man, that's got to go on the album." So we put that as the last song on the album. And I actually just sang it the 85th birthday bash that Country Rebel did of what going and they just released it as on their Stars and Stripes thing they put out, and you can go to my Facebook page or Country Rebel and listen to that live. So
I love that old sound. You guys, I just love that old time when people grew up in the 70s and 80s. And I tell you, man, I kind of know, listening to some of the Sirius XM stuff out there right now, man, this sound of traditional and conversations I have with people, even just generic conversations and general stuff that comes up when you're talking to somebody, old sounds making a little bit of a comeback now.
It is, and that's that's all I know how to do. Is
Yeah.
I I appreciate the new country music, and I know it
Hmm.
all has a place and it all has to evolve, but yeah, the '70s country and '80s and '90s, I think I've
Hmm.
heard it making a big comeback. So hopefully this album came out at the right time.
Y'all did. It made me think of one. It was back in the day, especially where I'm from down here, Tracy Byrd, Mark Chestnut, and of course Clay Walker and the great late great George Jones. I mean, just all the good stuff. And a song that brought me back from the album Southern Man, and I'm gonna get this title right. Trouble with a capital T, and y'all put the exclamation marks on the T on each side. Tell us about that
Yeah.
one a little bit, because I thought that was just. I mean, if you love country, you're gonna love Trouble with a capital T.
Yeah, well, Thelma's all over the place, isn't she?
Yeah.
No, it was. Yeah, that was a song actually that was written by Waylon and the
Hmm.
great songwriter Troy Seals,
Hmm.
and uh, they actually, I think they brought that to me in the studio when we were recording the last round of stuff, and so it's just a good honky tonk and just a good old country song. And somebody had um, told me the other day, and I can't remember who it was talking, and somebody coming somewhere and said, "Can you bring Thelma with you?" Well, if I catch her, she's somewhere between Texas and Tennessee.
Bring her with you, no
That's
doubt.
a fun song to play, and with Waymore's Outlaws, we actually recorded
Hmm.
that song for the Same Old Outlaws album, and yeah, that's always a fun one to play, and it gets the crowd going.
I love it too, no doubt about it. Well, we got more ground to cover. Speaking of stomping ground, we're going to stomp a little bit more here on the broadcast here with Tommy
Yeah,
Townsend here on the Backstage Pass. We'll take a quick time out and get a word in for the sponsors, pay some bills here, and of course, like I said, recap everything. Like I said, on the album, and definitely look forward to 2022. I'm going to ask you about what's next. Everybody loves to know what's next in the can.
yeah.
Plan for singles, EP albums, and of course, we're halfway through the year. More with Tommy here on the program. It is the Backstage Pass YouTube channel. And we're also live at the sportsguyspodcast.com. More to come. We're going to talk about Southern Man. Hang tight. Word from Bangtail, word from MitchMacs for coming back here on the broadcast. Hang tight.
The Bangtail pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base. The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the sportsguyspodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the sportsguyspodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass. And of course, tomorrow on the show, we're going to do a little early matinee. Our good friend Jessie G is going to stop by. She's on Gretchen Wilson's label out there. Some new stuff we're going to talk to her about too. Of course, we got to meet her in Nashville. Fantastic lady. Just had her first baby, and get a little update on what it's like to be a mommy. Then tomorrow afternoon, our good friend JD Shelburne is going to stop by here, Kentucky Wildcat fan. We'll talk to JD and get the latest going on his camp here. That's about 2:30 tomorrow here on the Backstage Pass. Back with Tommy Townsend. We're talking Southern Man and a whole lot more. So kind of what is next? I mean, you guys put this back out in April. You've been riding it. Live shows are coming up, playing some of the cool tunes off of it. Kind of what's next? What are you looking forward to?
Well, like I say, it's going to come out on vinyl in November, Black Friday, which is Record Store Day. They're then, so it'll be a whole another release, and we're actually gearing up to start recording some more stuff. there'll be another album sometime next year. So looking forward to that. Been writing some stuff and just looking for songs, and that's what's on the agenda.
So. Looking forward to that too, especially when new music comes out. I'm sure it's going to be that sound. They love that old school too. And like I said, speaking back of the 90s, man, we're talking about that comeback coming back in that sound. It's amazing still seeing some of the guys out there. I mean, George Strait, when's he ever going to give it up? I mean, probably never will. He's talked about retirement, but you see so many people out there doing their own tour now, and some of the names are still sticking around.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like George Strait and Clint Black and Alan Jackson and all those guys. And I saw, I think during CMA Fest, wasn't it Wade Hayes and Billy Dean? A couple of them did a 90s comeback thing at the Wild Horse or something. And, good old country music's still alive and well.
It is, brother. Like I said, a lot of those new artists, up and comers, emerging artists are doing their thing out there too, and bringing it back. And I tell you, one of my good buddies, CJ Garton, he's doing it too up there in Nashville, and loved his stuff too. And Shane Owens, we had on the show last week, so it's around. Like I said, traditional country. That's what it's what you grew up on. Let me ask you about that 80s and 90s. Who were you kind of jamming out to? I know we talked Waylon and of course Shooter, but I'm sure there had to be those great 80s solo artists, 80s bands, early 90s bands you were jamming out to, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was always a big Hank Jr. fan since I was a kid. Man, I'm Clint Black, Keith Whitley. I love Steve Earle when he first come on the scene, and that Randy Travis and Dwight. I listened to all of that stuff when I was a kid, and it just loved it. It's so funny. Like I can remember going back as a little kid and growing up on the lake in the summertime and listening to like T.G. Shepherd, and those guys. Love T. Graham Brown, man. He's a soulful singer. He was on the country music cruise, and talked to him a little bit, and he's kind of from the same area I'm from. He's a super nice guy, but yeah, it was just all that stuff. And then, I mean, I even loved, I love Kiss, and I loved Aerosmith, and all that stuff in the 80s. And it wasn't just country music. I like all kinds of music.
Yeah, that's what I tell you. That's what most artists do these days, not just confined to one genre out there. Is across the board. It's kind of that smorgasbord of everything, and you love everything about every style of music and everything that's out there too. Let me ask you this too, because you've been doing this a long time, and I know there's so many artists out there that do these reality shows now, and they get a chance to do Idol, The Voice, or America's Got Talent, get their stuff out there. Otherwise, they may not have a chance if there wasn't a platform like that. But what's kind of the best advice you received early on in your career that you could give to kind of new artists today?
Well, I was around Waylon a lot then, and he was always like, well, always do your own thing, and don't let anybody tell you what to do, and just be yourself, and I think that's true in a lot of ways. Some ways, I think maybe, with major record labels, you might have to do sort of what they want you to do until you get enough clout to do what you can do, I think. So, but just stick to your guns and be yourself, and as much as you can, go out and play, get in front of everybody as much as you can. I mean, back when I was a kid and stuff, there wasn't all the American Idols and stuff that there are now. There was maybe Star Search, I remember.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was about the only thing going, and I think maybe it's easier nowadays if you can get on one of those shows, because you're catapulted into a whole big audience at one time, where, when I was coming along, you had to just pay your dues in the honky tonks and the beer joints and all that.
Yeah.
So
that was the key, and that's what you're talking about. All those guys we mentioned here on the broadcast, they paid their dues and they got to be their own headline tour, and for many of them, they're still at it today. All right, well, I tell you, I love wrapping it up. Got to do a little rapid fire with you, because I learned something new about you every time we have you on this show. So, as of lately, what food, what drinks you've been getting into? What have you liked?
What food? Let's see. Gosh, there's been a few things. I love, especially this time of year, stuff out of the garden: green beans, cornbread, and fried potatoes, and sweet tea.
Sweet, yeah. Too much of that too, right there. Yeah, having to go half and half on the tea now. You know how that goes. Yeah.
As far as alcoholic drink, I own a distillery, too. So we do a peach whiskey. So I'll dabble in that every once in a while.
Dabble that too at the same time. All right, let me do this one. Do you remember the title of the first song you ever wrote, or what was the song about?
Yeah, it was a song called "Waylon, You're a Legend."
You're a legend.
And yeah, and yeah, my sister actually helped me with it. So
I love it. A lot of people take some thought, boy. You nailed it right there too, which is good.
yeah.
All right, so let's say Tommy won a big sum of money tomorrow, no matter how it's acquired, lottery, inheritance. What's the first thing you do with the money?
Give a lot up to charity.
See, you're a lot of people that know good people that do things behind the scenes and do a lot of the hardest giving back, things like that. I would do the same thing. I commend you on that too. Just give a lot to charity, and of course, more people that need it than I do, because I feel very satisfied in my career right now, no doubt about it. All right, I love doing this one. So if Tommy's ordering a pizza and it's one of the pizza nights in the Townsend household, what toppings go on the pizza?
One of those meat lovers pizzas with all the bad stuff on it.
Yep, same here, brother. If it's a meat, put it on there. I'm not a veggie guy too. All right, what was the first car Tommy Townsend owned?
It was a Mustang.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
old school Mustang.
It was actually a Mustang my dad bought me when I was 10 years old. It was a '65 Mustang, and so I couldn't even drive it. But I did, because in Blairsville, Georgia, growing up, I was driving when I was 13 years old.
I was about the same thing. Yeah, I remember you tell a story about 13. You hop in the truck, think you know what you're doing, then you pull it out. We lived out in the countryside, and I put it in. I said, "What does this do? Reverse? Uh-oh, boom, backed into a tree."
Yeah.
13, 14 years old, didn't know it. And of course, I got my ass whooped by my grandpa coming outside. "What the hell did you do with my truck, boy? You damaged everything." But you know what? Life lesson.
I started driving like a tractor and a bulldozer and stuff when I was like 11 years old. So
same here. I was right along with you, raising the country, no doubt about it. Yeah. All right, what's the best program or the favorite program for Tommy to watch when it comes to binge watching?
Binge watching. It's funny right now. My wife and I are into Longmire.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd never watched it, but we're into sort of binge watching that a little bit.
I like that. I like that, brother. Well, I tell you got good taste in sound, good taste in music. And, brother, if you like old school, I tell people it is out there for you. As Southern Man is across all the digital platforms, coming out in vinyl coming up here in this year. And I know you got some more great things for people. Hey, man, always good to catch up with you, run into you, whether it be right here on the broadcast or in Nashville coming back for CRS in 2023. My friend, thanks for stopping by. And always appreciate yourself, your music, your sound, and you're a class act in this business, brother.
Man, thanks for having me on. Let's do it again sometime.
We're going to. That's Tommy Townsend here on the Backstage Pass. So tomorrow, Jesse G going to stop by, and our good friend over there, JD Shelburne, here on the show. Make sure you guys check it out. I believe 11 and 2:30 tomorrow, the times. And, of course, go get Southern Man across all the digital platforms. We'll see you guys tomorrow on the Backstage Pass. Thanks to the sponsors. Talk to you soon. Have a great night.